This time of year is always very interesting here at the chapel, just the layout. When we start the sit, this seat that I have is directly in the blaze of the setting sun. I feel like the pharaoh, I can't remember which pharaoh it was, but it was one of the pharaohs that used to stare into the sun for guidance. And as you can imagine, in these robes, it gets really hot in that sunshine. And it brings me to a memory of practice. One of the questions that I'm often asked, especially in the summertime, is, why do you wear those robes? Aren't they hot? Maybe Zen should change to like a beige or something like that, something a little less heat attracting. And maybe that would be a good idea if the object of Zen was to be comfortable. It's to manipulate our lives to be more comfortable. But that's basically what we do for the rest of our lives. It's what we do in our society generally, is to manipulate our environment to make ourselves comfortable. One of the questions that I have been asked several times recently touches on this, and that's people have been contacting me that have been practicing with Zen West online, have connected with our online resources and have started a meditation practice wherever it is that they are. Sometimes one particular person was in Australia and asked a question about having a lot of difficulty with meditation, having a lot of emotions arising in practice, and they wanted to know if this was normal. I think in our culture right now, meditation is really gaining a lot of traction. Counselors and psychologists and doctors, trainers, a lot of people are advocating meditation as a tool to help us live better lives. And certainly when we take up this simple practice of meditation, we find very quickly that this practice of sitting can be very helpful. It allows us to stabilize our breath. It lets us relax a little bit. It allows some of the noise in our mind to settle down. But one question that is so seldom asked, I find it surprising, is why do we have so much noise there in the first place? It's not accidental. It doesn't just happen. From the time that we're very young, we learn to distract ourselves from things that we find uncomfortable or unpleasant. When we were young children and we'd fall and skin our knees, our parents would scoop us up. And they would try to prevent us from looking at the source of our discomfort. Don't look at your bloody knee or your bloody elbow. Look at my smiling face. Look at this shiny knick-knack. Distract yourself with this piece of candy, a piece of ice cream maybe. This is a distraction technique, a very primal one. And this is one of our fundamental coping mechanisms, is simply the distraction of look away. Now, as we go forward in our lives, maybe lollipops and ice cream cease to have the distracting power that they did when we were children. I don't know. Maybe for some of us, they still have that distracting power. Maybe when things are difficult, we still reach for the ice cream. Now, that would be great. But there are many other distractions. Our world is full of distractions, external distractions of all kinds. As we grow up and get older, they change from things like sweetness, sugar, shiny things. We can get into alcohol. We can get into drugs if that's not strong enough. We could get into sex. We can get into kitten videos on YouTube. The possibilities are literally endless. But beyond all of those external distractions that we have, all of us, at least all of the people that I've come across ever in my life, the most powerful distraction that we can come up with is just this wonderful mind that we have. We use thinking to distract ourselves from what's taking place in our lives in this moment. We have a whole lifetime of scenes to replay, to distract ourselves when we don't want to look at what's happening in this moment. We have an unforeseeable future ahead of ourselves to fantasize about, to distract ourselves from what we find uncomfortable, unpleasant in this moment. So with all of this distraction available externally and all of this distraction available internally, why, it's a miracle if we ever look at what's taking place in this moment at all. Each of us, I think, comes to a point in our lives where we find the noise in our heads is too much. And at this point, whether that leads to stress, depression, anxiety, insomnia, physical health breakdowns of all kinds, maybe somebody along the way recommends that maybe you should try meditation. So we do. Meditation offers a very simple technique to allow ourselves to sort of turn off the noisemakers, to piece by piece shut down the things that we distract ourselves with. And as far as a health support, this is really a good thing. Meditation can be very helpful. But meditation, particularly Zazen, Zen meditation, is not aimed at helping you sleep better. It's not aimed at letting you continue to do whatever job it is that you do, or to continue to produce whatever it is that you produce. And so we shouldn't mistake this tool as a kind of analgesic, just taking away our symptoms. What we have to do, what we have to understand is that the reason that we distract ourselves, the reason that we are so busy in our heads, the reason that we have so much noise is because we are distracting ourselves. And the question that we need to ask when we come to practice is, what is it that I am so determined not to confront, not to face, not to see. I can't tell you what that is. You have to discover that for yourself. And with each of us, it's different. For some of us, there is anger. For some of us, there is fear. For some of us, there is grief. For some of us, there is loneliness. For some of us, it's all of these things in bits and pieces. But make no mistake that this tool, Zen meditation, is powerful. It's tremendously effective. And so, yes, if you continue to meditate, we move very quickly past this peaceful stage, this wonderful sense of, look at the space that I'm finding in my own head. Look at the quiet that I'm finding in my heart as I sit down and drop distractions away. Because in equal amounts, as we drop our distractions, more and more clearly we begin to become able to see that which we are distracting ourselves from the outset. This fundamental discomfort, this fundamental anguish that lies at the root of the human experience, you might say, is what Zen practice is primarily concerned with. The Zendo, this meditation hall, this form of practice, it's not just accidental. It's not just aimed at being a place where we can come and relax and have a nice meditation and take a load off. It is a place of intentional practice. It is a tool that allows us to peel back the layers of distraction and allows us to sit with the support of a community, with the support of a teacher, with the support of these profound teachings, to lay bare this fundamental anguish, dukkha it's called in Sanskrit. To lay it bare, to confront it, to embrace it entirely as nothing other than ourselves, and to let go of it, little bit by little bit. If we don't engage in our practice this way, if we're just doing a little bit of meditation to relax, it's very much like having a fractured bone, just taking some painkillers. Sure, we can distract ourselves from a time. We can numb ourselves out a little bit for a time. But if we really want to get to the root, if we really want to come to a place where we don't need to be distracted, where we can actually, with our eyes fully open, with our hearts fully open, with our lives fully open, embrace the content of this moment, what's arising in our lives in this moment, when we can fully step with awareness and presence completely into the unfolding activity of our lives. We have to be willing to let go of our distractions. We have to be willing to look without fear, without aversion at the difficult stuff that arises in our lives. This Zen practice is not for the faint of heart. And if we're looking for something that makes us comfortable, we should probably try something else. That said, I'm grateful that you've all chosen to spend the evening here tonight. Thank you.